Hey everybody, back again with another getting to know the mixer video. This week is Daytime Frank. It's a pretty good video, lots of good information in there, I think. So give it a listen. Now, regarding these videos, I know they're long, but there's not a lot that I can do to cut them down. So I understand, asking you to watch an hour video, that's kind of long. But, watch part of it and come back and watch some more and come back and watch some more, whatever. I'm going to keep doing them. There will be some shorter type videos coming out. They will be composed of a couple different mixers answering questions, and they're going to be 20-25 minutes long, so those will be here soon. Going on with these videos, though, I wanted to give you all a chance to send in questions or suggestions of things that I can ask these mixers. So the videos that I have coming up, if you have any questions for any of these four people, send them in. Just email me at vapintrucker01, VAPIN trucker01@gmail.com. Try to put the mixer name somewhere in there just so I know who you want me to ask that question to. But the next four that I have coming out or scheduled to do will be Pippa Star from DIY Down Under, Christopher Koppel, Michael Hoffman, and Chrono Vapes. So those four people there, if you have any questions for them, just send them to me so I can include them in the video. Also, if you have a mixer that you would like me to try to interview, send those suggestions along too. In the end, I want to make something that other people want to see as well. So that'll help me do that. Also, with this channel, okay, I'm not going to be doing nothing but these mixing videos. That's not the purpose. I will be getting back to doing recipes and mixing in the truck, just like I always have. I'm just kind of in a little slump right now. Nothing I'm making is feeling good, is tasting good, and so I'm trying to be a little more picky about what I put out. I do have a couple things that I think are really close, so hopefully soon there'll be a couple more recipe videos coming out. Anyway, let's go see what Frank had to say. And so, how you doing, Frank?
Oh, not bad. Enjoying a nice, relaxing Sunday.
Right. Appreciate you taking time out of your home time to sit down and talk for a little bit.
Oh, no problem. I'd do anything to help you out and, a lot of other mixers.
Right. That's one thing that I've heard a bunch about, is your willingness to help people out. And I think that's important for this community. Just to help where you can and give advice and share your knowledge.
Yeah, because it's more than just, people writing a check or sending, money through PayPal to an organization. People being able to just take your time and, talk to people that need some advice or just, help advertise for something for a good cause when you have a platform to do it. I think a lot of that's just as important as, put money towards something. You can buy someone a bottle of juice and they'll vape for a day. You teach them how to mix and they can vape forever.
Right. Absolutely. So how long did you smoke?
32 years off and on.
No kidding.
Mostly on.
No kidding.
Yeah, started when I was 12 and quit when I was 40, I guess 45.
Wow.
And, I had like a 1 year break in there where I was actually on the patch back in 2000. And it worked for about a year, and then just going to the football games and drinking. Next thing you know, you bum a cigarette, and next thing you know, you bum two, and then you end up buying a pack because you feel bad because you don't want to bum them. Next thing you know, you're buying a carton, and it's all over again.
Right. Yeah, sometimes I still, when I see other people smoking, it still makes me want a cigarette until I smell the way it smells, and then I don't want it anymore.
Mhm. Exactly.
So, why did you end up swapping to vaping?
Mostly, I said both my parents died from smoking related illnesses. My dad died from congestive heart failure. He had suffered for at least the last 10 years of his life where he was on disability, couldn't work anymore, and just struggled. And I didn't want to be like that. But at the time, I was like, oh, well, they'll take a cigarette out of my cold dead hands. I still enjoyed smoking and
Right.
didn't really give two shits. And my mom passed away from cancer 14 months after my father did. But the thing that really got me was it was right around Thanksgiving of 2016. One of my real good friends, he was actually my first boss. He was the father of two guys, two people I went to school with. And he died the same year as my dad, pretty much the same age as my dad, pretty much the same exact way.
Wow.
And he was a heavy smoker. You always saw him with a pack of Marlboro Reds and Dunkin' Donuts coffee in his hand. You never saw him without either one. And I was just like, you know what? I got to make a change. And I had a couple coworkers that had switched to vaping. One was diagnosed with COPD, and she's my age. They told her she had like 69% lung function,
Wow.
and she started vaping. And I'm like, you know what? If these people can do it, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot.
Absolutely. Was there a what did you start off with? Like a little cig-alike or
Well, this is my second go around with vaping, sort of, because in 2015, my wife had bought me an ego pen with a cartomizer on it, but she only got me 6 milligram nicotine. So it definitely was not enough nicotine, and I kind of resisted a little bit. And I mean, I tried it, and I had gone, from pack and a half a day down to, maybe half a pack or 3/4 of a pack, but then it kept leaking and the battery shorted out. And I'm just like, I had to wash my hands of it. But then in 2016, I went to local vape shop right after it was like a week after Black Friday, and they didn't have much left in stock. They had a big sale, wiped everything out. I got an OG Nautilus tank with bottom fill port, and they sold me a Wismac RX23. So way too much power for that little tank, but
right?
had battery life for days.
Oh, right. Absolutely. Yeah.
There's an 18 milligram, RY4, and that's how I got started. And then I didn't quit smoking right away. I dual used for about a month and a half, or a little over a month. Yeah, about almost a month and a half. And then I finally, because when I went to the vape shop, I had a carton and a half of cigarettes in the truck.
Right.
I wasn't throwing them away. That was too much damn money.
Right.
But it took me that long. It took me from the 2nd of December of 2016 to the 11th of January 2017 to smoke them. It was like 12 packs of cigarettes I had left.
Wow.
Before that would have been 8 or 9 days.
Right. Right.
When I was dual using, there was tasting less and less good. And then I craved it. Like, I was off of work for a couple of days because we had to go to New Jersey for a funeral, and that was the same time that I had my last cigarette, and I went back to work that Sunday, and it was rough. Even though I had the vape, but not having that, at least a morning cigarette, at least having that, that crutch if I needed it. It was tough. It was real tough, but I got through it.
So, how long have you been mixing?
About a year and a half, year and 7 months. I'd gotten tired of wasting my money on really lousy commercial liquid. And I was like, yeah, I was watching Fresh and Brian, and they, I got interested because of those guys. And I, set up an ELR account, and I was looking at recipes, And then I went to Nick River and I bought their starter kit, and then bought an extra bottle of Nick, some extra VG. It was like an $85 order.
Right.
And that's how it got started. Mixing up other people's recipes. I didn't dare try to come up with anything because I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Right. Right. So how did you learn to mix then? I mean, what?
Trial and error. I mean, let's say just reading, following a recipe and watching some videos. It was more reading than it was watching videos, except for the live shows that Brian was doing. Fresh was doing with Brian, and then I found out about Wayne and started watching some of his stuff. And I have a type of personality that when I get interested in something, I go all in on it because I want to learn every single thing there is to know about it.
Right. And I think that's a good part about getting started now for people is there's so much information out there. If you're just willing to sit down and read or watch a video, there's so much good information. And I think that makes it a lot easier than like back when, say, Fresh started mixing, as long as he's been. I mean, he's pretty much did all the homework for people,
Oh, yeah. People like him and Addie Tooney and Wayne, they laid the groundwork.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How many flavors you got? Do you know, or can you guess?
It's like around 3 1/4.
Okay. And somebody wanted me to ask you, do you still store them in the kitchen cabinet?
Yes, I do.
I thought I heard
they've outgrown the kitchen cabinet. I have a couple stackable totes on the kitchen counter that my wife would really love to see go away, but that's where I put like my Flavora, my Wonder flavors, and my Overflow flavor. And there's what was that Real Flavors one drop that came out?
Mm-hmm.
They're all in that tote, and then I have like random supplies and stuff in the tote above that because I ran out of room in the cabinet.
Right. You've got a YouTube channel, obviously, people, if they don't know by now, which I found your channel because of Fresh. I think he was in the chat one day and he mentioned that we ought to go check out your channel. And since then, I've watched everything on there just about.
I appreciate it.
Is there a story behind the name for your mixing show? It
came from Vape Shack. When I was, I'm still a member over there and I still hang out over there. Not as much as I used to, but I was always in there during the day while I was driving. I might have either phone up on the dash or I just have the camera off and just have it sitting off to the side and just, you know how it is. It gets boring as hell. So, people to talk to. And I was learning and, I learned about the YouTube side of it and, got some tips and tricks from people like Roro and Leafa and Nikki and Natty a little bit. And that's where I met Dawn from Midori Liquid.
Right.
And there was, they called the other guy that was in there. His name wasn't even Frank, but his voice reminded you of Frank Burns from MASH. So They started calling him Frank, and then they started calling me Daytime Frank and even Nighttime Frank because he always had a dark background.
It's funny how names come around and they just stick.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want them to, that's just what it is.
Oh yeah, I have nicknames at work that I've had for even before I worked for this company, but just in the industry, things just everybody knows everybody, and if you had a nickname or a reputation in one place, you go somewhere else, it's going to follow you over there.
Right. So we can talk about that for a minute. So you drive a truck.
Yep.
And you don't mix in the truck because of room, and it's a pain.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. You have a lot larger sleeper than I do, but still.
I'll be first to admit it's a pain. So like when you go out, you typically stay gone for like a week at a time, week and a half.
Yeah, pretty much. I'll leave tomorrow morning, Monday morning, and I'll get home Saturday afternoon. Most of the time, unless something special comes up, then I'll stay out. But
how much juice do you normally take with you when you leave?
I usually take, because just in case you end up staying out, I usually take about 400 milliliters.
Well, that's a pretty good amount. And that's why I quit doing that. No matter how much I took, I always ran out because I stay out a month and a half at a time.
Yeah, I mean, what I'll do is I'll have my 120s, and I'll usually fill them to 100 milliliters. This way, when you're splitting them steep, you have room to shake them.
Yeah.
And then I always have like either stuff that I mixed during the show or just like sample, recipes that I wanted to try either of my own or mix somebody else's. And I'll throw them. I have one of them little toiletry bags, and I throw them all in there. So, I mean, I may have 400 mils that's dedicated. Then there's always extra stuff in there.
Right. Yeah, there ain't nothing like running out of juice out here and trying to find some place where you can buy it.
I have found, and there was one Facebook group. I think they're kind of, falling off because there wasn't much activity, but they had a directory of vape shops with truck parking.
Really?
Or at least a close proximity for truck parking. Because I know like one in Temple, Georgia, that's a decent one too. I mean, their hardware they're a little bit proud of, but their juice prices and everything are pretty good. And they have a sister store in Lincoln, Alabama. And then right at exit 106 in South Carolina on 85, right at the state line, across from the Pilot, there's a vape shop there. So you can park at the Pilot, walk across the street. That one's called the Blow Vapor Zone, I think it is. They have a billboard out on 85, showing like a Sigelli tank, and it says, kick the ash and stuff like that. And so they're promoted to get smokers to quit, which is good.
Right. Yeah, I found a couple of course, that TA in Gary, Indiana, across the street from there next to the pizza place. It's a cigarette and vape store, but I mean, they sell juice and equipment, coils, batteries, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They're pretty decent people. And what I like about them is they don't mind haggling a little bit.
Oh, nice.
You can always get them to give you a deal.
Cool. Yeah, when I was in Gary, I was always going to the Petro because I always knew I'd find parking.
Yeah, I prefer to stay at the Petro. The only time I stay at the TA is if I need to go across there to the vape shop or something.
It's good to know that one's there. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, and the guys in there, they are pretty decent.
And I know next to the TA in London, Ohio, I think it's called Poor Boys. There's a vape shop there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, one of my subscribers, he actually turned me on to that place.
Where do you get inspirations for your recipes?
If I really get into, like a dry patch, you're just a creative block, I'll buy commercial liquid and then try to clone it and try to get my juices going again. Or I'll go on ELR or all the flavors, or and I'll find a recipe that interests me and I'll mix that up. And then you're just trying to get over the block, because I think we all get it, whether you're a writer, a mixer, a musician, and I think everybody goes through it.
Oh, absolutely. I know I do. I'm kind of in one now. Just anything I mix, I'm just not happy with it.
I just got over one about a month or so ago where it lasted a while too, where it seemed like everything I mixed for the show or whatever, we'd have a theme and I'd mix something and it's like, yeah, this sucks. Not even make it public, delete it, just forget it ever happened.
With you being gone like that all week, I guess you all work a couple weeks in advance on your recipes for that show, or
pretty much. We'll have a we have a Facebook chat that we use, messenger chat, and we'll figure out a theme and try to plan like 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, and it's starting to get tougher because we're starting to run out of flavor profiles.
Right.
So that's like today we did one shots, and we're going to start going a little bit different direction, just because we already did custard, we already did citrus, we did berries, we did, blueberries, we did blackberries, we did strawberries, we did, did ice cream and cookies and cakes and cheesecakes, and you just run out of ideas.
Right. Absolutely. But I guess what's your favorite recipe from another mixer that you make more than once?
That's a tough one. It was Blue Addie's yogurt for a while from Fresh, and then I kind of got tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the great thing about being a mixer, and this. You don't have to mix the same thing twice.
Right.
You can always change it, but that one and Kennaware's Straw Nana Custard was one that I tweaked it right from the start because I didn't have the Loran's banana cream, but I had TPA.
Right.
And just as good. And that when he says it's a 30-day steep, at day 27, it still isn't good. At day 30, it all of a sudden it comes together. It's amazing how he was able to nail that down.
So you got to be patient.
Oh, yeah. That one you mix when you think you want to vape it a month from now.
Well, the way I handle that, because I'm gone for a month and a half, I mix it at home and leave it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Then I'm not even tempted to grab it. What's the favorite recipe of yours, like that you've made?
I'm critical of myself, so I don't like anything I make. I let other people like it, but the one that Joey just reviewed, that one I was kind of proud of. It kind of broke my arm a little bit. My butterscotch RY4 that I continue to tweak, I've been vaping that pretty much every day since May. So that turned into my all day vape. I've tweaked it a little bit. I've did a variation. Like right now, I haven't been vaping that, but I'm vaping. I call it a banana custard. It's butterscotch and banana. It was inspired by the butterscotch episode of Noted.
Right.
And Chiba Steva was talking about a recipe that I can't remember if it was his or if it was somebody else's that inspired him to do it. And it was, butterscotch with banana. And I'm like, And then he used like Cap V1, but I'm like, well, I'll just use Fresh's quick custard. It upped the percentage a little bit, but it's decent. It just took 2 weeks to really settle in nice. And it's funny because ML Nikon, she had told me, I'd asked her about it. And she's like, yeah, give that a couple of weeks and that banana will settle down and not be such a bully in the mix. And the sweetness from the butterscotch will start coming through. And she was spot on.
Yeah. Emily knows her stuff.
Absolutely. She's really good.
I
like what they're doing over there with the Vixens. They're doing some good work over there.
Absolutely. Is there a concentrate that you think a flavoring that we're missing? Like, we've got a lot of new flavors to choose from, and there's always new flavors coming out. So if you could say, hey, I want you to make this flavoring, is there any flavor that if you could control and make somebody make it that you would?
An authentic cannoli cream. Because that is, if you ask Mary Beth, that has been like our holy grail lately. It's like our white whale that we're trying to nail it down. And I think now with Wonder Flavors coming out with the mascarpone cheese, we might have a handle on it, but it's going to take a little bit of playing with, and a little bit of brainstorming. But I think between the two of us, we can nail it down.
I asked Tammy that. She had a hard time coming up with an answer. But I mean,
she has 1,300 flavors.
Right. She was probably thinking that's what I need, one more flavor. I still find it amazing that she wants to mix a recipe and has to buy flavors for it.
Yeah.
And she says it's normally something really common that she just never got because she didn't need it.
I just recently picked up, what the heck was it? In this last batch from Bull City, I got, the one before that, Flavor watermelon. I had wild melon, didn't have the watermelon. Flavor Arts Booster, the tiramisu. I wanted that, finally got that. I got the raspberry. I mean, common things that are probably in that top 100 on all the flavors. I just never gotten around. It took me forever to get golden butter from Capella.
Right. I'm way behind on flavors, but I went for probably a year and a half where I only bought what I needed to replace. I just didn't
Okay.
buy anything new. Uh, and now I'm kind of on the warpath. So I'm gonna have to get a bigger truck if I buy any more.
Have to get one in bed bugger sleepers.
Yeah, yeah. If you was gonna recommend a recipe of yours for other people to mix,
Uh, Depends on their flavor profile. Stronana Custard V2. That one, a lot of people seem to like. And I've mixed that one more than once myself.
right?
Uh, my butterscotch RY4, if they're looking for something like that, I'm playing with it now because I think it has too many ingredients. But that one's one that's, in my opinion, I enjoy that recipe. It takes about 4 or 5 days to really start to shine, so it's not a long steeper. And the bananas foster cheesecake. I mean, I enjoyed it. I haven't mixed it since, but I enjoyed it. I did a 120 of it, and when I was done, I was over it.
Right. That one uses the Jamaican rum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just got that flavor in. I'm gonna mix that tonight. Uh, it's been on my list, but I forgot about it. And then when Joey reviewed it, I said, "Oh yeah, I got everything to make that now." So I'm gonna mix that tonight.
Yeah, because I think the Jamaican rum is key in that recipe because what I did was I looked at what's in a bananas foster. And I'm like, okay, the only thing it doesn't have is the walnuts because I don't even know of a walnut concentrate. And I didn't want to throw something else in there like a Kanaka soy to make like a peanutty note or acetylpyrazine or anything like that. I was like, I'll just leave it out because it's not something that's in every bananas foster. But
Right.
the rum is obviously the banana, the brown sugar, the caramel because, kind of to create the caramelization of the brown sugar,
Right.
kind of help that out. Sweeteners, the taste. I think it has a little bit of sweetener in it. It might have like a 0.5% or something. Flavor West sweetener, I think. Because I was on a kick there for a while where I was putting Flavor West sweetener and everything.
Right.
But
I,
it's not necessary in that recipe.
I just got Flavor West sweetener, and I've heard everybody likes it better than super sweet. Obviously, it's cleaner on your coils.
Yeah, it's not going to mute as hard.
Yeah, so I just bought a 120 of it from Bull City, and it really don't cost that much.
No, I just picked up because I had a little 10 mil of it, and I finally went through that, and I just picked up a 30 mil of it.
Who would you say's had the biggest influence on you as a mixer, like another mixer?
Uh, Fresh 03. I still watch his show religiously. It's still a good show. I mean, I miss Brian being on there. I thought Brian was actually a pretty good mixer. There's a few of his recipes that he's created that I mixed and tweaked them, and I actually spoke to him about them and said, hey, well, if you decide to make this again, try this instead of that. And he did, and he's like, oh, that really worked nice. So between Fresh and Brian, but mostly Fresh. Brian was kind of a protege.
Right, right, absolutely. And I think new uh, his new protege or student, if we will, Lumi, uh, she just seems like a sponge. I mean,
Yeah.
and what a difference! And I don't know how many shows that they've done of that now, but I've watched them all. But what a difference just to hear her, the way she talks about stuff and the confidence that she's getting.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show. I mean, Fresh is another guy. He'll answer any question.
Oh, absolutely.
Uh, okay,
And so will Addy Tooney. I
right,
sent him a message on Instagram. He's not a big Facebook guy. He's been more active on Facebook, but you send him a question on Instagram and he'll get back to you that day.
right, absolutely. Uh, if somebody had the power to do it, I wish it was me, but I'm just a little bitty guy. If somebody had the power to set you down in a room with 3 or 4 people that you would want to just to meet and talk DIY, who would those people be?
Well, one would be Fresh, just because I haven't met him in person. Obviously I've been on shows with him and everything else. Wayne. Jen Jarvis, and Bryson from Flavora, because I think he's a wealth of knowledge in himself.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think from each one of them, you can either, you can actually, I feel I could give something to them and get stuff back in return as far as knowledge goes.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would be an interesting group to sit down and chat with for sure. And my grandmother would roll over in her grave just for me saying this, but uh, this comes from a viewer. If the Eagles, because we know that you're a big sports fan, you're a
Oh
big
yeah.
Eagles fan. If the Eagles was not an option, uh, if the Eagles were non-existent, who would be your favorite team?
I probably wouldn't watch the NFL.
So no Eagles, you're out.
Pretty much. Because there's two teams I root for every week, the Eagles and whoever's playing Dallas.
Yeah, my grandmother loved the Eagles.
Oh, that's awesome.
And another person wanted to know, has anybody ever mistaken you for George Clooney?
Not in the least.
I thought that was an odd question, but I figured I'd ask.
Now, I have heard that I do have a resemblance to Freddie Mercury. And now with the new movie coming out, that it's actually at the cheap theater here in town, but I just haven't had time to take the wife over to see it. That new movie Bohemian Rhapsody, it looks awesome.
Right. Yeah, I want to see that. Usually by the time something comes out and I get home, it's no longer in the theater.
Yeah, you gotta wait for Netflix.
Right. Right. Netflix or Redbox.
Yeah.
We'll do Redbox every once in a while, but
Yeah, I haven't been excited to see a movie in the theaters in a long time, and this one was like, oh, this is one I want to go see.
Do you still single flavor test stuff?
On occasion. And it's funny that you mentioned that, because that's how I figured out about Flavor's tiramisu is almost spot on clone to their up, as if you run it high enough.
Really?
I mixed it at 3%, and it's a dark coffee but it has a little bit more cream and a little bit of a sweetness to it.
Right.
But it doesn't remind me of tiramisu much at all.
Gotcha. Too much coffee up that high?
Yeah.
Be tiramisu? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mixed a recipe, haven't even tried it. I actually mixed it for the wife. And I knocked down the tiramisu, and I threw a little bit of powdered sugar in there, a little bit of cream, a little bit of cake to get, how like the bottom layers of the tiramisu has like a little bit of the thickness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I had crepe, it'd probably make it better, but more authentic, but I don't have any crepe.
Right. Yeah, I've got a lot of flavors that I've still got to test. I tried mixing without doing a lot of testing, and I mean, I got some good stuff that way, stuff that I liked.
Yeah.
But they could be better. And so the only way that they're going to get better is to really understand the flavors,
Yeah, it's like if I'm interested in like a vape train flavor that I'm not familiar with, I'll either go look at Liam Davies' flavor notes, or Concrete River did a bunch of videos on vape train flavors. I'll go to those references, especially Liam. Liam is a hard worker in this hobby. He does so much.
Absolutely, and such detailed notes. I mean, if you look at his notes, there's really no need to ask him any questions because everything's there.
Yeah, he didn't leave anything unturned.
Yeah, absolutely. Advice for a new mixer, somebody just getting started.
Don't make big batches. Don't waste all that in case it, because we know we've thrown away a lot, especially in the beginning. I know I did. I was making like 60 ml bottles of everything and dumping them, just like, yeah, this sucked. This didn't turn out. Try to let them steep, and then you forget about them, and you find them a few months later, and it's like dark as tar, and you just smell it, and you're like, oh, nope, don't even want to save the bottle, just throw it away.
Right.
And as far as buying flavorings, buy 10 ml bottles of everything until you know what you like. Don't make the mistake I did and buy a 4-ounce bottle of TPA Swedish gummy.
Right.
Because I thought I was really going to like it, because one of the first liquids that I bought that I really enjoyed, but it was killing my sub-ohm coils because I wasn't building yet, was Candy King's Swedish gummy, Swedish fish. And so I wanted to try to recreate that. So I bought this huge ass bottle of this Swedish gummy thing. It was going to be really good, and followed one of Fresh's, a Swedish fish recipe. And no, the throat hit was about razor blades and didn't taste good. I'm like, yeah, I'll never, I think I've used it twice total. So that bottle ended up sitting there forever. I may piff it to somebody or something.
Just put a couple drops in everything so you can feel like that you're using it.
Yes, I have to make Swedish fish cheesecake. 0.25% TPA Swedish gummy, a little bit of 27 fish, and 3% Yes We cheesecake.
All right, yeah. And this would not be a daytime prank interview if I didn't ask you, why is it important for people to get out here and advocate for vaping?
Because if they don't, we're going to have to go black market. And not just for us, because we can mix, we'll survive. But someone new that's still smoking 2 packs a day, that is already on oxygen, or they're getting bronchitis or pneumonia every winter, they need to find this healthier alternative. It's it's not completely healthy. It's harm reduction. We all know that. Royal College is probably going to be 20 years ahead of the game, like they were with smoking.
Right.
At least as far as this country, they said smoking was bad in the 60s. The United States didn't figure out that they could make money off of smoking being bad until the 80s.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm like you. I think it's really sad to think that when you have something like this, and you've heard all these people, hippie vapes was on oxygen, and inhalers and nebulizers, and he uses his inhaler every once in a while, but he's no longer on oxygen, no longer on that. When you just hear all these stories about how much healthier people feel, like I don't wake up coughing and choking every morning.
My friend Melinda, the one that that really convinced me to start vaping, well, she led by example. She didn't really say, "Hey, you should do this," but I was interested in asking her questions. She went from being diagnosed with COPD, 69% lung function, to within a year, she's not on any kind of medications. And her lung function was tested again, it was like in the high 80s.
Right. Wow.
So it works. I mean, anyone says it doesn't, I approve for them.
Right. Absolutely. Other than vaping, what else do you like to do?
Watch sports. When I have time, I play golf. Not very good, but I'm not going to hold anybody up. I might play fast because that's the worst thing you want to see on a golf course is someone out there taking 5 shots for, taking 5-hour round when, when they think they're at the U.S. Open when they're shooting 106.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, again, I appreciate you sitting down and doing this.
Oh, Mike, I appreciate you, giving me the opportunity.
Well, and I've said it before, I enjoy meeting people and finding out more about them.
Oh yeah.
And I think the comments that I'm getting, people are I was worried about the length of the videos because, being an hour long or an hour and a half long, that's a lot to ask of people. But seems like people are liking them, so I'll keep doing them.
I mean, as someone being interviewed, it went fast.
Good deal.
Now we just have to get someone to turn the tables and interview you.
Oh, I've been waiting on that to come up. Nobody has ever mentioned that, but
See, I worked in radio. I used to interview people. So.
oh, gotcha. Well, I'm sure it'll happen eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate it, Frank. Anything else that you want people to know about you?
Just like my videos, share, subscribe. At about 400 and change right now in my sub count, and it'd be nice to see that get higher. But if anything, just just support support the industry, just support people. If you have an opportunity to throw some money at one of the organizations, go for it. But if not, at least get the word out. It doesn't cost anything to repost something a Vinyl and Vapor puts on Instagram or something Addy Tooney puts up. You already have an Instagram account. Just click repost and send it out to just get the word out.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
vote for be a single party voter on election day.
Okay. And where can people find your recipes, and what's your channel?
They can find my recipes on all the flavors as Daytime Frank 1, because I think I must have had another account and forgot it. On ELR, you can find me Daytime Frank. Instagram, Daytime_Frank. I have a Twitter. That one's not really too much towards vaping. Car Hauler 71. And on YouTube, just look up Daytime Frank or Daytime Frank's Reviews. It still comes up that way sometimes.
All right. So that was Daytime Frank. Y'all remember to get those questions in for those mixers that I mentioned earlier. It was Pippa Star, Christopher Koppel, Michael Hoffman, and Chrono Vapes. I will keep you updated in future videos as far as other mixers that have committed to sit down and doing an interview, so y'all can continue to submit questions. After this, of course, there'll be Frank's recipes. In the description will be a link to his YouTube channel, his ELR, and his ATF accounts. So y'all go over there and check out his recipes if you would. Go to his channel, subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, keep on trucking, stay safe, and keep on vaping.